That's what I want, is to make you feel good. That's the point of this.
Right.
We're all just givers.
Look at us. Baby, I'm a giver.
You
Did
don't
do that on
have to
purpose?
tell me.
It's just in my nature.
Take it like a taker, baby.
Welcome to Pelvic POV.
With your hosts and doctors of physical therapy, Amanda Neary and Hannah Meyer. Hey, Pelvic Freaks. Welcome back to another episode of Pelvic POV.
We're your freaks for us and we're freaks for your pelvis, baby.
And welcome, Megan, to Pelvic POV.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, we have a guest on Pelvic Freak Story Time.
First guest ever on a Freak Story Time.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Big fans of the pod.
What's your favorite episode?
I really enjoyed the first one, just hearing you two banter.
The first one.
It was super cute. I'd have to look at the names of each episode. You know what? I could do that.
Do it.
I could tell you.
Do it.
Yeah, guys.
Well,
Megan-
I don't expect you have listened to.
It's okay. I expect it.
I have listened to about 2 hours worth of your podcast because when I went to be prepared and it was entertaining. I downloaded some and then I was like, okay, I'm going to keep listening instead of, doing my notes and my exercise preparation and all the things I should do for work. I just listened to your podcast for like 2 hours and it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, guys. So Megan is visiting today. Well, she's visiting Chicago this week, and we got another guest from Boston.
Boston.
Heck yeah, second Boston guest. Well, you're not originally from Boston, are you?
No, New York.
Okay, that's
You can
makes
say them
sense.
from New York.
That's okay.
That's cool.
She's from New York. Second New York guest.
Second New York guest.
Boom.
Boom.
Us in the East Side. Wow. I mean, the East Coast. Anyways, Megan was visiting in town anyways, and me and Amanda are behind because we're doing a lot of traveling in May, and we're like, well, we have to film a podcast episode this weekend. So, Megan, you're jumping in on our episode.
Jumping in. Megan is also in physical therapy. Do you want to give us a little background on you and where you work and what you do?
Sure. So I co-own a practice called Keep It Moving Physical Therapy and Wellness in Burlington, Massachusetts. I am a physical therapist assistant. My business partner is a PT, and we have one other pelvic floor PT working with us, and she's awesome. And our primary focus is ortho and pelvic floor. We also do massage therapy, manual lymphatic drainage, transitional training. We have a good time there.
How do you like owning your own practice?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it for the freedom. Maybe miss not taking work home with me. That's been a little bit of a drag over the last couple of years, but I think that'll get better eventually. But I love it.
I feel like
and I
that
wouldn't
happens
change
to
it.
you too.
Yeah. At least for now.
I feel like it's like you're working all the time, but it's more enjoyable.
It's work I don't mind doing, but I'll open my laptop at like 9:30 p.m. and
Yes.
have stuff to do. So
That's
if I'm
kinda how-
checking my email, I have to be ready to work, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah. That's kind of how podcast stuff is too.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
We're busy bees over here.
Busy bees. We're all entrepreneurs, actually, and we're all freaks.
I have something to tell the pelvic freaks.
What?
I have an idea for what I want to do for my birthday.
Okay. Different from the last idea you talked about on the pod?
Yes. Think about this, guys. Talent show. Bum, bum, bum.
Explain.
So you don't have to perform if you don't want to, but I want to have like a talent show like we did in like high school or middle school and like get my friends up and perform. So I have 2 friends that sing opera. So I'm like,
Who are those?
you and him.
I have
So Amanda's gonna sing opera. I have pole dancer friends. There's my juggling, and then there's like other things.
You will never hesitate to bring up that you juggle on this podcast.
I know. I feel like I just have to keep it going now. So I think let me know what you guys think. If you think that's a good idea, that's what I'm leaning with right now. If I can pull it off.
I'm going to be pretty mad if you juggle at your birthday and you didn't juggle at my birthday.
Yeah, that would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Did you ask her to juggle?
Yes, I did multiple times.
And you said no?
I think I said yes, and then I forgot.
She said yes, and then she didn't bring her juggling balls.
I didn't have them on hand.
Disappointing.
Happy Easter, guys. Amanda, show your shirt.
Happy Easter. Do you like my shirt?
It says God loves sluts on it.
At least the church upstairs is out of session already.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they probably had a big Easter service.
I was going to tell you, I went to this restaurant on Friday, and there was a big sign on the front of the door that said, "We will be closed on 4/20." And I was like, oh, like, put some respect on this holiday. I'm like, finally, like, we're getting some respect here. And then I like keep reading, and then I look at the bottom and it says, "Happy Easter," period. I'm like, oh, okay.
Incredible.
It is kind of crazy that 420 and Easter on the same day.
Yeah.
Not every year, I don't think.
No, it's not every year.
but-
That'd be sick, though.
I mean, then I might want to show up to Easter.
Yeah.
Just take an edible, go eat a
yeah.
bunch of food.
That's so true.
Sounds great.
Do you do anything on Easter?
I turned down a lot of things on Easter.
Yeah. Do you do anything on Easter?
I do. My brother cooks and also big pothead family. So we typically get stoned and eat a ton. And then he sent me some photos. They were cooking brisket and a bunch of other like delicious things. And like his buddies come through and one of his friends is a really good baker. So it's like really good baked goods. It's a good time.
I'm sorry you're missing it for this, but I'm
it's-
happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just not missing it for this podcast.
No, I actually only came to Chicago to miss Easter for this podcast, actually.
Yeah, we're a fun little addition.
Yeah, that way if I get audited, it's like recorded. I'm here for work.
Yeah.
This is a write-off.
There we
Business
go.
expense.
It's a write-off.
Yeah.
Well, guys, pelvic freak story time. You freaks are going crazy now. We're getting so many submissions. More and more every time we do a pelvic freak story time.
This is the most submissions we've ever gotten. And I think this is our best prompt so far.
I know. I like this prompt a lot. And I have ideas for future prompts that I think are going to be really cool.
I think this could be a recurring prompt too.
It could be, yeah.
Like every few story times.
Oh, you guys don't know the prompt yet.
Tell them the prompt. They read the title of the episode.
Yeah, but I want to verbally say it in case they're just like, scrolling through episodes and letting it roll on a car ride.
Yeah.
The theme for this story time that we prompted you guys was sex ed didn't prepare me for this, in quotes. ...
We basically just had you guys submit whatever that brought up for you. And we got some really good submissions that we're going to talk about.
We got a lot of submissions. Like we actually had to cut a bunch out and save some for future story times. So if you don't hear your submission this time, don't worry. It'll come up on a future episode.
I asked Megan in advance. Well, you asked Megan in advance
I
to
said,
have one ready. As the first guest on a freak story time, you have to also give us a story. So what did sex ed not prepare you for?
Okay, so I thought about this all week and I got really frustrated with it because I wasn't prepared for a lot. I was never taught about sex with women because it was never discussed. It was only sex with a man. And that really would have been helpful in high school because I was attracted to women, but I didn't know that I could be with a woman first. And so I waited for longer than I probably should have. The various types of orgasms, that was also a shock that I think still like learning about as I continue my journey with having sex and whatever. I'm forgetting what else I went on a tangent about.
Those are all.
I don't know if I heard about a female orgasm in sex ed.
These are actually like some of the responses that we got and from our freaks.
You took
from our
mine.
pelvic freaks.
Mine was being gay.
I was going to say the first two submissions are being gay and was not prepared for gay sex. So
Yeah, they didn't even talk about it.
Not at all.
Never, ever, ever.
I think it's interesting what you said about like having sex with a woman 1st. Like in your mind, losing your virginity was having sex with a man.
It was. And I at the time I lost my virginity, I was talking to both like a man and a woman, or girl and a guy, whatever, because I was very young at the time. And
so true, like the same man and a woman, and you're like,
it was not a woman and he was a boy. So let's be real. And I liked them both, and I was like very open to that. Like that wasn't like too confusing to navigate. But I did not think I could have sex with the girl at the time because I didn't think that would be sex, right? I was like, if I'm gonna have sex, I'm gonna have sex with the guy first, and that's what I did, and it was super disappointing because I also didn't know what wasn't taught to me what my body would feel like or should feel like when I want to have sex. And when I had the opportunity to have sex with the girl, my body was super open to it and ready and whatever. But when I had sex with him, my body was not feeling it. I just liked him because he was a pretty boy and he was the first guy that wanted to have sex with me or whatever, and I wanted to have sex with him, so I was, fine. But didn't know anything about that. And then when I had the opportunity to have sex with a guy, when my body told me, like when I was ready for it, I didn't understand that feeling either. And then I didn't even capitalize on that opportunity. So I missed a lot of good sex in my younger days, not being prepared for what good sex, when your body is ready for good sex.
yeah. And that's a good point. And having sex with a man, I don't know if you guys experience this, but all your friends will prepare you and say, it's going to hurt the first time.
It's
Get
gonna
ready.
hurt.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good for you. That's what I remember.
Yeah. So then you're just going into that mindset as a teenager, like, oh, this is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. This is bad.
That's a really good point.
I really like that you brought up the fact of like losing your virginity is always associated with heterosexual
Yeah, in
relationships.
sex ed, it's like penis vagina, and that's virginity. But like queer sex.
Wait, what's the term? Popping your cherry?
Oh yeah, popping your cherry, girl.
What?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which tampon? What is that actually like? The hymen?
Yes, the hymen tissue.
breaking.
The hymen tissue.
Yeah.
Anything can do that.
Anything at any point in your life too.
Yeah, it's insane. But that's what it's all like based off of, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you think about like, I have had this experience in my late 20s talking to like the queer community where like they've had experiences talking to people like, oh, I did this, this, and this with him, but I didn't have sex with him. And it's like, okay, well, what is sex?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we teaching people what sex is? Because if it's just penis, vagina, that's not inclusive to anyone.
How did you guys actually learn about sex? You know what I mean? Because
My
it
friend
wasn't
told
sex
me in
ed.
third grade.
Well, yeah, third grade. But I think mine was like I learned from middle school boys. My middle school guy friends would all be like talking about it. And that's how I learned. How about you?
In New York, people had hot boxes. Do you know what a hot box is? Okay.
I don't know. It is
about the
420
weed version.
No, okay. And it could be, if I need to text my New York friends, I'll ask them because I don't remember. But people would have these cable boxes that had like porn channels, and I believe they were called a hot box. So I remember being in my friend's basement, and they had a hot box and just they were on porn, and that was probably my first like exposure to it.
How old were you?
I was gonna say middle school was when I like.
I'm gonna say maybe middle school, but maybe it was like elementary school too.
That is actually like interesting though, how we actually learned because they're not giving us good sex ed in schools. So I mean, we're gonna go find out about sex elsewhere, and what the sexual education I'm learning from middle school boys is better than what you're giving me. That's crazy.
And when you learn it in health class, at least in my health class, it was about making babies. It wasn't about like you're going to want to have sex.
Making babies and STDs.
And it was like, if you're going to have sex before that, here's how you put a condom on. And then a slideshow of all the fucking photos of STDs. And that was it.
Yeah. Well, should we get into what our freaks are saying? What our pelvic freaks are saying? Because
Let's get into it.
we've touched on a little bit about what sex ed was for us, but honestly, everyone has lived pretty much the same experience. And some of these are actually crazy. I was actually really surprised.
All right, let's do it.
Which I shouldn't be at this point. You know what I mean? Thank you guys all for your submissions. We appreciate it so, so much. And we're going to go ahead and lead off with our first pelvic freak story time. Some of these are longer stories and some of them are shorter submissions. So we'll kind of alternate between both. All right, first one. Sex ed did not prepare me to say you need to pee after sex. No UTIs, please. And this is from Skylar Lawn in Lexington, Kentucky. And that was actually a submission that was submitted multiple times, peeing after sex.
That's real. I had recurrent UTIs my freshman year of college because of the guy I was sleeping with. And not because of him, but because I didn't know I had to pee after sex.
No one does.
Yeah.
You learn that through experience or like through talk with your friends.
It's pretty wild.
I never knew that. I mean, I know it now, but like I did not know that either.
No, you learn usually through
Anatomy.
or through the hard way where you get a UTI.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why do I, like exactly what you just said.
Yeah. I learned about UTIs through my like anatomy and physiology class. Like that should definitely be talked about in sex ed. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
You want to read the next one?
Oh, okay. Next one.
I liked this one.
I haven't actually read any of these really.
This is really exciting.
I'm
I
excited.
read through some of them, but not all.
I didn't have any experience when I got to college, and the first man I hooked up with was really into sucking on my nipple when we would hook up. In parentheses, what I now know is very normal. And at the time, I told my friends I think he had a mom kink and he was trying to breastfeed. I guess probably not covered in sex ed, but felt dumb not knowing.
Period.
They definitely didn't talk about nipple play in sex ed.
They didn't. They don't. And that's such a thing. Such an interesting subject.
I want to know if this person
Thought he was
liked it or
trying to
not.
breastfeed. They probably did.
They probably didn't because they thought it was weird.
Right,
But
Yeah,
like
at the time.
later, they might have been like, oh,
That's so true. They probably thought it was weird and they were like held off by it. But if you would have known, like, oh, this is just like a form of like foreplay. You know what I mean?
also like there's certain things that like feel good in your body, but if it's not with the right person, it feels wrong still. So like they probably just like had a weird moment where they were like, this guy has a kink and it wasn't fun for them. I don't know. I don't want to project onto them.
I'm not projecting either.
Maybe what it would have been like for me.
I'll read the next one. It's kind of a longer one. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. One random day in 2016. I remember those days. I started bleeding heavily after sex, like heavy period level of blood. I went to the clinic on my college campus and they accused me of being in an abusive relationship. I was not. And having rough sex, also not. My boyfriend at the time thought I was lying about not being a virgin and he thought he was hurting me. It eventually slowed down and only happened randomly over the next several years. It never hurt. I just found out from pelvic floor PT that I have a lack of estrogen production in the skin of my cervix. Using an estrogen replacement cream has stopped the issue. It took almost 9 years for a simple fix, and apparently it's very common. I wish people with female genitalia were actually taught about our body parts in school. I used to have to give a pre-warning before sex with a new partner, like, heads up, I might bleed literally all over you, but it's fine. And this is from @EndoWriter, Jess in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you for your submission.
This is interesting because we see this in pelvic floor PT and people, and it's usually perimenopausal patients. And that's the only thing I can remember in sex ed that they like talked about menopause and estrogen, but no one ever talked about like what estrogen does and what happens if it's low. So I feel like that was,
I would have been terrified if this would happen to me.
and then to have like the whatever PA on your college campus be like, how rough is the sex you're having? That's
Yeah.
like,
Very accusatory, very like judgmental, which is
Yeah.
really common when people come to physicians for this kind of topic.
yeah.
So something I want to talk about this because this is something I went through a lot in like younger. Also, still happens with certain penetrative sex. And I went to a gynecologist a couple weeks ago, and I talked about it. And the answer he gave me was just horrible. It was just
Really?
yeah. I feel like in the gyno world, and this isn't to every doctor, but I really couldn't believe like the bullshit that he was giving me on this as like being aware of like the pelvic floor, and like I had an idea of like why I was like bleeding. It really wasn't a big deal, but I was curious to know what he would say because it had happened so much over time, and usually with new partners too it'll happen. I just there's so lack of education with this topic too because it is really embarrassing, and I appreciate this person like saying something to their new partner, like, hey, this is what happens, because I do believe in that kind of communication.
Yeah.
So props to Jess for being open about that with other people, not to be ashamed about it. But I think it's like such bullshit how we aren't talking about it more too, because this happens to a lot of people, and it happens if it's like using like a dildo or like a penis, or like for me it's like digital penetration that'll happen. But there's like ways to navigate that, but my gyno didn't tell me how to navigate that.
Nope.
I know how to navigate it with just like communication, but like
Was it more just like yeah, it happens? Or how did you
it's
like
normal. Your
address it?
cervix is small.
Yeah.
Maybe you're sensitive. You don't feel it. There's no nerve endings in there. I'm like, what the
Gosh.
fuck is this guy saying? He's crazy.
And isn't it wild that now that we've done pelvic floor training, we know how to approach these things with doctors? Like this shouldn't be something you can't bring up to a doctor because you don't know the anatomy and what's actually happening. And they still don't take you seriously when you do. That's crazy. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, Megan. All right, next one.
Is this me?
Yep, there's a short. You can read
yeah.
maybe both.
Maybe both. Let's see.
Go on in.
Next one. I asked my husband this and he said, I didn't know women could actually squirt.
Facts.
In fact, to be honest, I don't know if that would come up in sex ed.
I was going to say the same thing.
It should though.
But, hey,
it should because people
yeah.
are embarrassed when that happens. And it's
Exactly.
also like people don't know what it is.
There
Yeah.
are people that can only ever squirt, but yeah, very common.
Yeah.
It's different than how it appears on porn too.
How long do we think a sex ed course should actually take in school? Because how long did we take it for? A trimester? Health class?
I think I did. I had health class. Yeah. In high school, the first semester was health class and the second semester was gym. So it was only one semester freshman year of high school.
I feel like it should be like a full year.
It should be a full year.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we need to have it more than once too, because everything's changing. Hormones are changing, personalities are changing, identities are changing. I think it's crazy they wouldn't talk about it enough.
Yeah, dude.
Wild.
should be.
And then they could get to squirting.
Period.
Is it me still?
Yeah.
Sex ed literally told me that 1 in 6 condoms break with a bunch of exclamation points. This is Mary Kate who announced I was pregnant on the pod, LOL.
Do we know the actual statistic? Because I don't.
I don't know that.
Do you?
No idea.
Have you ever had a condom break on you?
Yep.
Have you?
Nope.
Had to take
I've never
Plan
had
B,
it. I've never
baby.
had it happen. I think I knew that about you.
That I had to take Plan B?
That you had to take Plan B because your condom broke.
Yeah.
And you know what a big myth is people will put 2 condoms on to avoid that, which makes it way worse.
Yeah, that's not right.
So yeah, it's definitely
That sounds so stupid.
Yeah, could they not tell you to Don't tell you to not double up your condoms.
Don't double up, okay?
Don't double them on up. Don't have sex on a trampoline. It'll break.
If your condom does break, there are options like Plan B, like Amanda said.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we're lucky to have Plan B as an option.
Yep.
Please don't take it away, government.
Okay, ready?
Next.
LOL, LOL. I love when people just like submit like they're chatting with us. LOL, LOL. Didn't realize you could get pregnant if you pulls out. I had sex ed, but never learned 1, how to put on a condom. Oh, we literally just talked about this. 2, that women have orgasms. Kind of get why we didn't learn that. But 3, how easily you can get pregnant during different parts of your menstrual cycle. Most of sex ed was in health class, but we spent most of health class watching reruns of Intervention. Shockingly, I went to a very well-funded public high school in a liberal town.
Why would we not need to learn about women having orgasms?
I think similar to how we were like, I don't know if squirting should be addressed in sex ed. You know what I mean? It's like we're conditioned to think that we don't talk about that in sex ed.
We're taught that sex ends when a man ejaculates
Yep.
inside a woman.
Yep.
Or outside.
Yeah. If you're doing the pull-out method, like this person mentioned, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get pregnant even if the person pulls out.
Yeah. There's a statistic on how much like pre-cum can actually get you pregnant. I feel like they didn't talk about that in my
No,
sex ed.
not at all.
No.
They just said put on a condom or don't have sex. Pretty much. That was it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I learned nothing. And I honestly had a lot of unprotected sex when I was younger, and I was playing with fire.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, there was no discussion of like getting pregnant with pre-cum, and that's crazy. And I was very lucky that nothing happened, but it's really crazy.
And that you can get pregnant only at certain parts of your cycle that is never talked about. Because actually the whole cycle is never talked about for a woman either. It's usually just maybe mentioning a period, but I don't even remember them talking about periods in health class, honestly.
Or having sex on your period, which is also like a really interesting like thing to talk about with your partner. Like I recently had my period while I was having sex with a partner, and I let them know. One, just because of white sheets and whatever.
Yeah.
But I did feel a little embarrassed. I have to be honest. And I was hoping this person would be okay with it. And luckily they were. That's something that I don't think we kind of talk about, especially with like a new partner.
That's a conversation that a lot of people are nervous of. Like people are always nervous. Oh, I'm on my period. I don't know if I can have sex. Or if I don't know if I want to, or they're embarrassed to.
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with period sex. I'm always like, we're going. And it's a big turn off for me if someone's not down for that. But you know what? Flex disc.
Oh, yeah, that's what I use.
Game changer.
Yeah, it's great.
I was about to say we can do an ad for Flex Disc right now.
Literally, we could throw
best thing.
Flex disc ad. We're not even sponsored yet, guys. Yet. We're manifesting.
We're trying to crack that egg.
We love the Flex disc.
Happy
Happy Easter. You can have penetrative sex. If you're having sex with someone with a penis, then they won't even feel it. It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Oral sex, amazing.
Also, here's the thing.
It's mess free.
People have preferences, right? But like I'm like you, like if someone was turned off by that, it probably would turn me off a little bit just because I'm like, you think women are gross, whatever. I don't know. But they don't tell you in sex ed that that's even an option. They don't tell you can get pregnant on your period. They don't tell you anything about period sex. So you don't know to have those conversations with a partner. And then it becomes a situation where like you have to feel embarrassed about it because you don't know. And it should just be something that we are prepared to talk about.
Can you imagine if we all just like knew this stuff?
Yeah. It'd be freaking awesome.
I'm way too old to like feel embarrassed about having sex on my period. It's crazy.
No. If someone shamed me for that.
Yeah.
But they can feel that way.
They can. And you can feel however you want. But for me, big turn off. Anyways. Next one, Amanda.
I wasn't prepared for how unprepared I was to ask a guy to wear a condom if he didn't bring it up himself.
Good
Fucking
point.
Facts. Okay. The first time I was hooking up with a guy I really liked, I couldn't bring myself to mention a condom in the heat of the moment. He asked if I was on birth control, and when I said yes, he continued to, with consent.
With consent.
He continued with consent. And I let it slide, even though I would have felt more comfortable with a condom. It just felt awkward to ask, and I didn't know how to bring it up, which maybe is a combination of not being taught how to do that and the level of comfort, safety, etc. I felt in the moment. Definitely could have used help feeling empowered to do that, and everyone should be taught to have this explicit conversation with their partner. Similar concept, just like being taught to have conversations.
Yes.
Has anyone had this not happen to them? Because
No.
I think this has happened to every woman I know
Yes.
that has sex with men.
I remember in the moment, I'm like, the same thing. I was like, I'm too old to like feel weird about this. And I didn't. I wanted to use a condom and I didn't have one with me.
This is also an example of where like people can use more consent training just throughout school, because I feel like in my experience hooking up with guys when I was younger, they would pressure me into not using a condom. I would give in. And then they thought that was hot that I gave in.
It feels better.
It feels better. And like, oh, yeah, baby, that's great. And then they think they can do that to everyone. And it's not okay. But like, you don't know what to do in the moment. And it's not consent. So you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. It's not, she said with consent in parentheses, but is it enthusiastic?
Is it
yes?
an enthusiastic yes?
Is it enthusiastic yes? Is it an enthusiastic consensual yes?
Yeah.
That's not
And she
full
even
consent.
says later in the same comment, like level of comfort, etc., safety. So, yeah, I mean, clearly there was some lack of communication there. Could have been improved.
All right, you guys ready for the next one?
Ready?
Okay. Sex ed didn't prepare me for, in all caps, pleasure. Growing up on the West Coast, our school district was very liberal and sex ed was actually pretty thorough. Health was required semester-long course, and we learned about different contraceptives and how effective they were, how to put on condoms, reproductive anatomy, and even what healthy relationships look like and what constitutes violence and abuse. But not once was female pleasure even mentioned. I felt more prepared for sex than most, but I still went into my first sexual encounters literally not even aware that it should feel good for me or how it could. So of course it felt terrible, and I left those first experiences feeling traumatized, but not really sure how to explain it, because I thought pain, discomfort for women was normal and we just had to push through it. Fast forward to now, I just recently realized one of the reasons I rarely orgasm during penetrative sex is because I've been contracting all my pelvic floor muscles and tensing up to withstand penetration my entire life instead of relaxing into it and actually enjoying it. Whoa. Great submission. Kind of ties into what you were talking about at the beginning of the episode. Very similar. And we had a little bit of a pelvic floor dysfunction component in there. That's a really common way that people develop pelvic floor dysfunction and pain with intercourse.
This whole story to me is an example of like conditioning, because this person even called their own sex ed comprehensive and like well-rounded, and it didn't talk about female pleasure once. That shouldn't be the standard for what it is to consider it like good sex ed. So that's interesting.
It just makes me so mad that we were all taught that it's supposed to be painful. Even the first time that you have sex. We're all like, we're literally, people tell us that. Has anyone in this room ever been told, oh, it's supposed to feel good, like early on when you were like in high school?
No.
Or middle school or whatever.
Losing your virginity is going to hurt.
Great submission.
So with this one too, I think it's interesting with female pleasure, reaching orgasm is never discussed, right? It could take a long time, it could take a short time, whatever. The first time I had an orgasm, I had no idea what was like happening. I just knew that, which my first orgasm was with a woman. Like my perspective of time didn't really matter at that moment because it was my first time experiencing an orgasm. But then there is like another time where I came super quick and I was really embarrassed, because in my mind, coming quickly isn't great, because when we see it with men, like men coming quickly gets made fun of. That's kind of like a stereotype, which I think is also kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because we all get excited and can come super quick. But that was something that was that's annoying to like not have like a discussion about, like how long it can take or how short it can take, and to not feel embarrassed either way. Reading that's where my head went with like, man, we don't even talk about how long it takes. And that's something we should be talking about and educating people on.
Yeah.
That matters.
And we talked about this early on. You'll get to this episode soon if you're listening to our early ones, but I've never had an orgasm episode. We talk about what actually has to happen for an orgasm to happen.
I listened to it.
Oh, you did listen to it?
Yeah.
You hated it?
No, I didn't hate it.
It wasn't your favorite.
I never answered the question.
That's true. We did get
Yeah.
sidetracked.
That's so true. We'll get back to that. But like your brain literally has to turn off in order to have an orgasm, and they don't teach you that shit. So like you're in your head and you're like, oh, am I supposed to be feeling this? What is this supposed to feel like? It's going to take you a long ass time to have your first orgasm, especially with female anatomy. We are not taught what that
We're not even
looks
taught
like
what
or
an
feels like.
orgasm is. Yeah, not even most people, their first time having an orgasm, they're like, what the heck?
And it is interesting because like all of my girlfriends in high school would make fun of dudes for coming quickly. And that was like very much a stigma. So then you think it's supposed to take a certain amount of time, or like, I don't know, someone's supposed to come first.
Why don't we just focus on feeling good? Question mark.
I will say if someone comes quickly, that's a ego boost for me.
It's like, hell yeah.
Oh, I did that. That's awesome.
And I'm also like, I'm so glad that it felt that good for you from me. Like, I'm like, oh, heck yeah. That's what I want, is to make you feel good. That's the point of this.
Right.
We're all just givers.
Look at us. Baby, I'm a giver.
You
Did
don't
do that on
have to
purpose?
tell me.
It's just in my nature.
Take it like a taker, baby.
Matcha clink and coffee.
I feel left out.
You're included in the cheers. Guys, we are sporting Viet 5 coffee today. This is the Vietnamese coffee shop down the street from the clinic. And it's our favorite matcha in Chicago. And they also have the best little breakfast rolls.
I still have like 3 more bites left.
So good. They have this little ham and cheese roll. And they have really good banh mi and banh mi salads. And
Oh my God, yeah, that's so good.
yeah, if you're in Chicago, you should check them out. Anyway.
All right, you ready?
Oh, Jasper. Hey. This one's from Jasper, my friend in Chicago. Too long didn't read. Lay off the lidocaine lube. Anal should hurt a little.
Okay.
let's-
That's like a summary of what the submission is.
Let's read the long version. Years ago, when I was getting to know my first boyfriend in college, we had a weekend with the house to ourselves and had to make the most of it. Both of us find bottoming painful, and given our equipment, it had been entirely off the table. We made a stop at the sex store and decided to try numbing lube. If they sell it, it's safe, right? Well, we get home and fuck all night with just the full moon coming through the window. That stuff really worked. I couldn't feel a thing other than the prostate pleasure. Once the sun started to come up, we realized our mistake. He touched my neck at some point right after pulling out, and we both had a considerable amount of blood covering us. I had no clue that I was bleeding, let alone so much. The day before, he had fucked his girlfriend without a condom, so 2 gay 19-year-olds buying Plan B and anal suppository made for an awkward transaction. I've had fissures before, but this was an absolute nightmare to heal. Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this can even be summed up on like education on lubricant. You know
Big
what I
time.
mean?
I mean, there's a lot that we could get into here.
There's a ton. Numbing lubricant. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, never
I
done-
can
never
totally
done
see
it.
where that would go wrong. You can not know how hard you're going, and then it goes crazy.
Inherently, it doesn't sound like the worst invention ever, but
I mean,
yeah, no one educates on anal sex.
I was going to say anal sex is
they-
never even talked about.
And another example of queer sex that we're just
Yeah.
not educated on.
No,
Thoughts?
I got tissue integrity. That sucks.
that sucks.
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah. I mean,
Jasper, I'm sorry that happened.
I do appreciate the humor.
The
with
humor at the end.
The awkward transaction. I mean, that's a great one-liner. That's a story as old as time. A tale as old as time.
all this time. All right, I'm going to read the next one because I like this one. This is a really good submission.
Thanks, Jasper.
Having herpes is not as bad as sex ed made it seem. When I got the diagnosis, I was devastated, but I only have breakouts maybe twice a year. When they happen, I just call to my gyno's office. They place a prescription for Valtrex, and the flare-up is over in 3 days. I've been with my partner 7 years, and they still don't have herpes. I know everyone's case is different, but I feel very grateful for what I have.
Snaps for that.
Literally snaps, because we all know they put the STD pictures up there and it's the worst of the worst to scare you. And then it makes you feel bad if you do contract an STD or you get herpes or something like this. You're like completely devastated.
Big time. And I've seen a few more like Instagram accounts that are just dedicated to destigmatizing herpes specifically.
And talking about how to talk to your partner or someone.
Who's the herpes slut is the one I'm thinking of. If this like story resonates with you at all, you should go check out their Instagram page because they have a lot of good education on having herpes. But yeah, I mean, that's what I remember from sex ed. It's the burned into my mind pictures of herpes flare-ups. I'm like, more people have this than we want to admit. And yeah, there are ways to be safe with it too.
Okay. Next
All
one.
right. My first sex ed class, they talked about puberty and barely talked about actual sex. All they said was there's a penis and a vagina and a man ejaculates and that's how a baby's made. So I thought a penis would just kind of sit on a woman's pubic area and had no idea had no clue it went in until my mom had to explain it to me. And then my mom used a picking nose analogy. The nostrils a vagina and the finger is the penis. And then she stuck her finger up her nose. That was traumatizing in its own right.
Heart emoji.
Oh
Wait.
my God.
Okay, I'm laughing at the ending statement, but the finger in the nose, not the first part.
Yeah.
The first part totally makes sense. You're not taught about what sex actually is, so it makes total sense that you would think that that could be what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, no.
I think my course did tell me that, but the fact that one didn't is wild.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just imagining sitting there with my mom and my mom being like,
This is sex.
I would be so confused.
Would not enjoy that.
Gosh.
I actually did. Okay. Did you guys talk to your parents about sex? Did you have like the talk?
No,
Never,
which is crazy. And I was the only girl in my family, which I think is like really insane that like no one educated me on sex at all.
Wild. The one I talked to my dad once because I had a boyfriend who was a year older than me in high school. He was a junior and I was a junior. He was a senior. And I was going on a date with him one night and my dad is sitting across the kitchen island from me and he goes, "So he's a senior, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know to be safe, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm going to go now." And then that was our whole talk.
Yep.
That was the only sex talk I ever got from a
I
parent.
feel like it's really common. for
Man. Wild.
sure. Next.
All right, next.
When they come inside you, it will all come back out. For example, you have sex before bed, then you go to sleep. After using the restroom, the next morning it started running down my legs like a current when I stood up. Scared the hell out of me. Is the above scenario normal or okay? Question mark. It still scares me. Also, you two are amazing. Heart.
Heart.
Thank you.
Thanks, stranger.
Not a stranger. It's a pelvic freak.
It's a thanks, public freak that we can't identify.
That
Yeah,
doesn't sound like it's come.
After you go to the bathroom,
it sounds like a lot to be running down your legs.
maybe like
day.
pelvic floor tension contributed to this and you didn't like empty fully or something. I don't know.
there could have been tension where like if you're peeing to avoid a UTI, but you don't actually like have to go to the bathroom. Maybe they were like holding on to some tension.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of stuck in there. Also, we don't know how long they were standing for and using the bathroom. So maybe, if it was cum, it is normal and okay.
Yeah.
But it could, we don't know the ins and outs of this situation, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Next one.
Yeah. Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent blew my mind and it should be a part of every sex ed class. What is this?
I don't know, but we should look it up.
Let's educate the freaks.
Ooh. Serve, take, allow, accept. I like it.
I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about. Is the conversation component is not talked about in sex ed, so this could be an amazing thing to throw in
This is
there.
cool.
Wait, this is cool.
We're gonna look into this.
I dig it. And I like
Maybe we'll tag a link to this wheel of consent so you guys can look it up.
And I like that it's visual because I do feel like kids need a visual. That's why they scare you with photos of fucking STIs. Like if we had a wheel to look at or some reference point, I think it would make sense. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. Want to read the next one?
I wish it went into detail about the full female cycle, not just the period time frame. I think I literally just said this like a little bit ago, didn't I?
You did just say that.
Yeah, period time frame.
Yeah, just goes to show we all.
I mean, we
have
were
the
even
same
talking
feeling.
about how we don't know into full detail like our normal hormonal cycles.
Yeah.
We wanted to get someone on the podcast to talk about it all.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot, but there's a way to make it digestible for
Comprehensive.
kids too. And I think at least learning the basics. I didn't know that like what the follicular phase was till I was in college.
I learned so much just by tracking my period on my app.
Yeah.
Like I learned so much.
I can track my depression, when it's going to come, when it's going to go, when it's going to
Literally.
go.
Yeah. It makes so much more sense when you start connecting and you look at your app and you're like, what phase am I at? It's wild. Oh, this one is actually crazy. I remember reading this. You read it.
Am I
Amanda.
reading it?
I want you to read
Okay.
it because I want to hear your reaction.
We were never actually taught about consent, just that we were a flower giving our petals away. And who wouldn't want a flower without petals? For men and women, learning about consent is so important. Jesus fucking Christ. That
Yeah,
was my commentary at the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Who wouldn't want a flower without petals? Who do I have to punch right now?
the microphone, apparently. Literally.
This is one of those that makes me want to throw hands, and I need to calm down for a minute.
Literally. I think there was another one actually that I read earlier that goes along the same lines of this one. Oh, here it is. This is kind of the similar vibes. In middle school, we passed around a white piece of paper and crumpled it up, and that paper represented our bodies and how we would,
my
how they would
God.
be when we had sex. So then you're like looking at this blank sheet of paper and then they're like, yeah, that's you if you have sex.
Guys, just a disclaimer, tissue is elastic. So none of that's real.
I also, I think it maybe is supposed to just represent that now you're like not pure and.
Oh, purity culture.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably, that's what I got out
It's
of
like
it.
you're used.
You're used.
But I get what you're coming from and that, exactly.
Is the petal? Yeah. Okay.
The petal thing also is like purity, I think.
Who would want a flower? You don't give
If you
away
give
all your
away-
petals.
exactly.
Which is what we talked with Alicia, the episode on Alicia, and how she's like, I don't really like the flower blooming example when we say the relax the pelvic floor. And I'm like honestly going to stop using it because I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good it's like good to visualize, but like honestly, like,
Like it doesn't need to be thought of like a delicate flower
Yeah.
that is so. I feel like that one's almost more like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. That kind of stereotype where it's like it's a delicate little flower. If you have sex with too many people, you ruin the delicacy of the flower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. I mean, it is gross.
Megan, read the next one.
Okay. Only teaching sex ed through the lens of heterosexual relationships and reproduction. It seems like adults don't think kids, especially queer kids, need to learn about consent and protection, etc. I mean, this is like what I said in the beginning. I wasn't taught any of this, and I was really gay. I just didn't know it, and I didn't see it. And it took someone pursuing me to, be comfortable, and like my best friend also allowing me to be myself and like introduce that kind of like fluidity that allowed me to explore that. But it would have been nice to learn about this and to know that it was okay.
I always wonder what it would have been like for me if I also had this in high school.
Yeah.
Because I just never had that exposure. And like, I
You're
didn't realize I was queer until very late in my 20s.
yeah. I think it's because No, I'm like thinking I feel like they don't want queer kids to exist maybe or
Right.
don't acknowledge that they exist.
It's on
so they're like,
it's on
we're just not going to teach
purpose.
it. We're not going to teach it.
Yeah. It's
No, they still
icky.
exist. And then
Guess
now
what?
Now we have bad education.
We exist anyway. Queer kids don't make your kids gay. We should still teach queer kids how to have sex and enjoy that and experience their bodies.
I like the comment of heterosexual relationships and reproduction. Like sex is just for reproduction, not for pleasure or
You know what
things
my
like that.
sex ed class did do? It showed me a live childbirth. Did yours do that?
I saw that in anatomy class, not sex ed.
I saw that in sex ed. We had to watch a live birth. And it was their way of being like, if you don't want this, don't have sex. Straight up. It's fucked up.
Very bold. Here's another submission. Lube, it's super important. Use as needed. Look into ingredients and differences. Water versus silicone based. Yeah. People just be buying that KY jelly. There's better ones out there, guys.
KY jelly. What's your favorite lube? Go.
Uber Lube.
I think Uber Lube is my favorite.
Uber
too.
Lube's my favorite.
I don't know that I would use Uber Lube on my sheets though.
The only, yes, I was going to say my only qualm with Uber Lube is that it is kind of messy. It's a silicone based lubricant.
kind of stains sheets.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's the slipperiest.
And you can't use it with toys.
Yeah, I would still say it's my favorite. Next
Let's
one.
read.
Beep boop pop beep.
Go for it.
Abstinence only sex ed should be abolished. That's the sex ed I got. Was just very lucky to have an older sister and a progressive mom.
We talked about this one in our conversation with Dr. Shermer Sellers
we
a couple
did.
episodes ago.
Yeah, we did. Sometimes afternoon. Sometimes afternoon matcha does this to me. We know it.
Totally.
I also haven't had any water today.
That's okay.
That's stupid.
God loves you. You slut. All right, guys. We have only 3 more left, okay? This one's a quickie. Pregnancy, literally know nothing about it. Period. You don't learn anything about pregnancy.
Yep.
The process of being pregnant, what happens to your body, postpartum, anything like that. That's something that definitely does not happen. That's why we exist, for real.
Okay.
We can read the next 2 together. So this is our last one,
I'm
Amanda.
reading them back to back. These are both anonymous.
Anonymous.
Anonymous. We had 2 days of sex ed in our health class. First day was watching STD videos for if you have sex. Second day, abstinence only group came in to have us promise to wait for marriage. Second submission. Only abstinence, no info on birth control other than it was the devil and girls who were on it were ungodly. No info on periods or any of the hormonal cycle.
Yeah, we're kind of getting into a theme now.
We're getting into religious trauma.
Yes.
Post pregnancy is not talked about enough either.
Def not.
Postpartum.
The fourth trimester is real.
Yeah,
It really is. I think going into detail about pregnancy, the changes that happens in your body, like rather than trying to scare people of like having children, is way more important.
Thanks so much for submitting, guys. We will do more of these, and we will do some with the same thing, some with similar themes or different themes. And you can always submit something even when we're not prompting you for it, and we'll just use it when it's appropriate in an episode.
Yeah, when we were going through some of our submissions, we had some that were submitted by you guys just from normal episodes of just like listening to our episodes and be like, oh, forgot about that. And then you submitted a question. So that's perfect. And we will get to those soon.
We will
Maybe
get to
on like
those.
another Q&A or advice column situation, because we have gotten a lot of advice questions lately. So maybe we'll figure out an episode for those. Megan, we loved having you on this episode. And honestly, you gave a lot of really good input.
Thank you.
And Megan was kind of nervous about coming on the podcast. I feel like people mostly are, but you fucking crushed that.
Well, thanks. You guys are great.
You're a natural.
Thank you.
More
Literally.
natural than us.
So before what? Hey. No, before we wrap up, we want to do a little segment of rapid fire questions for our guests, just to say thank you for being on the podcast by making you extremely uncomfortable and asking you multiple personal questions.
Great. Let's go.
Okay, are you ready? Amanda's going to do it. And she is trained in improv. So she's thinking of all of these on the spot, and we did not prepare this.
I am thinking of all of these on the spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
she is-
I'm a New
So she
Yorker,
is-
so I think I can
Yeah,
I'm going to try.
You can
Really
match
hard.
my freak?
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you can.
get ready because we took improv for 6 classes.
For 6 classes.
All right.
Question number 1. What was the best sex location you've ever had?
I really like having sex in public bathrooms. So that's
Is there a specific bathroom in mind?
No.
Okay. What's your favorite item of clothing that you own?
it's probably like a button-up shirt or something like that.
What's your favorite feline animal?
Cat. A tiger.
That
a tiger.
had bias.
Lately, it's been a tiger.
I don't want to hear about dogs.
Get it away. All right, keep going.
What's the coolest place you've been to? Like location, travel wise?
That's really hard to answer because if there's food involved, I'd say Italy was pretty great. I found like the best pizza I've ever had there. Japan, actually, I take it all back. Japan's been probably the coolest place I've ever been.
go there.
Yeah.
Sweet. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Not communicating. Yeah.
Period. That's a good one.
Do you have any tattoos?
A lot.
What's your favorite?
I have a pinochle tattoo on my shin.
I don't know what that is.
I'll show you.
Oh,
This is a pinochle. It's a Queen of Spades, Jack of Diamonds. It's a game that my family
that's
plays.
sick.
Said and done tattoo in Jamaica Plain in Boston.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's sick.
All right, that might wrap it on up. But
You
don't
wrapped
wrap
it up
it
with our
twice.
rapid fires, but don't wrap it twice because then it might break. Look at that.
That was a good type. That was
That's a good
improv.
callback. That's a good
was
callback.
improv. Thanks, Pelvic Freaks. Thank you for all of these.
That got a little freaky.
This was my favorite Pelvic Freak story time we've ever done in my entire life.
And it was extra special because we had a guest here. Thanks, Megan.
Did you
for
guys like
joining
having
us.
our guest?
Leave us some feedback if you enjoyed the episode only, please.
So what I tell people in my clinic is like, hey, do us a favor, write us a review. 5 stars really helps like networking and getting like new people in. And if you have anything bad to say about us, instead of writing that in a review, just send me a bad email. Like if you're angry, send me an email about it.
Yeah.
That's how I prefer it. Don't
Yeah.
tell the public. Just tell me directly.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
tell me and then we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And
It's a good
also,
way.
we're trying to get Squatty Potty to do ads for us. Don't you guys want that for us? That would be great.
Guys, our dream collaboration
Is in
is
the
coming
works.
to life. Just you wait. Once we have 1,000 followers on Instagram, you're going to see some cool shit that we're giving away. Mm-hmm. I'm not telling you anything else.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
All right, guys.
All right. Make sure you're following us on social media at Pelvic POV.
Megan, where can our pelvic freaks find you? Our pelvic freaks specifically in Boston that are in need of physical therapy services and want to find a location that has a great owner.
They could find us on Instagram at Keep It Moving PT, as well as on YouTube. They can type in Keep It Moving Physical Therapy and Wellness. We have a bunch of videos there, which we use for our exercise prescription, or if people get bored and miss me and just want to watch me talk.
Yes.
Amazing.
I'll be there because I'll miss you.
You got a new fan already. As a rite of passage, we allow our guests to say goodbye to the pelvic freaks at the end of the episode. So would you like to do the honors?
I would love to. I want to say thank you for having me on, and goodbye, Pelvic Freaks.
Bye, pelvic freaks.
Bye, pelvic freaks.